doing something so other people don't have to not have their kids this Christmas.
Tonight, a Santa Clarita family sharing their heartbreak and pain after their son died from a drug federal prosecutors say is even more powerful than fentanyl. The man accused of giving it to him is now facing federal charges. And KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers at the desk now. Mike, you reported on this first in the nation prosecution, and tonight you spoke with that young man's grieving family.
Yeah, and you know, Pat, they're really obviously still having a hard time. And they just lost their son in April. Just last week, they learned that the person who gave him that deadly drug is now facing those federal charges. I want to show you some pictures here. This is Bryce Jaquette. He was 22 years old, lived in Stevenson Ranch. His family tells me one night he went out, and according to court documents, he met a person that he had known on Instagram, and that is where he allegedly bought this pill, which he did not know was now what is now known as the designer drug protonitazine. Protonitazine is, as you mentioned, Pat, 3 times stronger than fentanyl, according to prosecutors. And by the way, fentanyl is already 50 times more powerful than heroin. Jaquette died in his car in his family's driveway. His mom found him the next morning after running an errand. Tonight, they are telling me how grateful they are that the federal government is prosecuting cases like this so that the person who allegedly gave him this drug will face some justice. But they're also sending a very strong warning.
Never had heard of it, ever.
No.
We've talked to doctors that have never heard of this drug before.
We have a lot of nurses in our family who've never heard of it. I have a niece that this is what she does for a living, is treat addicts, and she says it's the first time she's even heard of it.
Every mom tells their kid and dad tells their kid not to do drugs. And, you know, it takes one pill. But it's so different now than even when we were growing up. There's fentanyl and now protonitazine, 3 times stronger than fentanyl. It's crazy. You can't take a chance. It's one pill, and it will change our lives forever.
Yeah, that's really their message here, is that their son didn't know what he was taking, but the family says you can't experiment anymore. This is one pill that has now changed their lives forever, taken the life of their 22-year-old son. They are very grateful for the law enforcement agencies and the federal government, Pat, that have stepped in and prosecuted this case. The 21-year-old, the federal government arrested in this case, has pleaded not guilty. Pat, I was going through some federal court documents here related to the case. The feds say even after he knew that the pill he gave to Bryce ultimately killed him, he was still arrested 3 more times on felony drug distribution charges.
Oh, no, the same drug?
It's unclear. When they raided his house, he had a bunch of different types of drugs in there, including MDMA, cocaine, marijuana. That's all according to the federal documents. But he has a very lengthy drug history, drug arrest history. And as I mentioned, even arrested 3 times on felony drug charges, even after the feds told him that the pill he provided to Bryce allegedly killed him.
And so he was obviously not, he was still out of
Still
jail.
out there, yep.
Okay. We know that this is the first case, the first federal prosecution in the nation. So I'm sure, Mike, a lot of people and a lot of law enforcement and hopefully legislators will be paying very close attention to this. And of course the parents. And that was, appreciate you talking to the family and them talking to you about this terrible, horrible tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Mike.